Welcome to the StyleCloud YouTube channel. I'm Melissa, one of the founders, and you'll hear my voice in many of our videos. Our channel is packed with tutorials and web design tips for photographers and other creative business owners, so don't forget to hit subscribe to hear all about our new videos. In this training, let's talk about what your options are when it comes to setting up a staging site and which approach you're going to take to rebuilding your website. One of the things that people often ask us is, should I take a copy of my site and rebuild it from a copy, or should I start afresh? And that's really going to come down to how long you've had your site and how you feel about some of the features. Let's just run through the options and then you can see how you feel. The thing we do tend to recommend the most is just cloning your site, taking a copy of it, and it's very much the easiest way to make sure you preserve all of your content and your settings, and by that all of your pages and their page URLs, all of your blog posts, and all of the settings for things like SEO work that you've done. You don't want to lose any of that. So this is very much the easiest way to make sure you don't forget anything or miss anything out. It also means, for example, there's no need to set up new connections. By that I mean your connections you might have to Google or any plugins you might have from scratch. If you have lots of forms, you won't need to rebuild them. And the good news is it can be actually cleaned up easily. Like, some people worry that there's going to be lots of old files left behind and old folders from old plugins, and sometimes there are, or database tables which you don't need anymore because you're using a different theme. The good news is these actually can be cleaned up easily, but you might need a bit of professional help. It's a bit like taking your car for a service, and if you need help with that, we do have a team who can help, and it's not too expensive. Even if you do clone your site or go to use a staging copy, don't worry that it can't be made fast and tidy and that there's going to be lots of things left behind. That can all be cleaned up. Now, there is sometimes a case for starting afresh. It's probably there's two reasons why you would do this. Maybe you're coming from Squarespace or another proprietary platform and you need to start with a completely clean install, or maybe your old site doesn't have a lot on it and you want a completely fresh start, and you can easily recreate your pages and bring your blog posts across. And maybe you've got a site that's really big and bulky and it's been around for a long time and you really want a fresh start. Now, I'm just going to run through these points first, but again, I would say if you are going to do that, you might want to look at just getting a professional to set that up for you, to extract all of the settings that you want to preserve and make sure you've got you can import the content that you want to keep and make sure you've got a nice clean base, but also you don't miss any important settings. So let's just talk about what those settings are. Whichever way you choose, what you want to be doing is copying all of the URLs, that's the actual kind of website page addresses, and the permalinks carefully. You don't want to be changing the structure of those links if you can possibly help it. And you will also need to re-import all your blog posts and attached images. So there are some professional tools that do that, things like WP All Import, or you might get someone to do that for you if you're worried about losing your images. And there's also a manual way of just downloading your media library and re-uploading it to a new install. Again, it's not super difficult, but if you need some guidance on that, we can help you. You will need to re-import all your SEO settings per page, and we will go into a bit more detail in the next module when we talk about preserving SEO and content. But as I said, if you want to start afresh and historically you've got quite a big site, you might be looking to get someone to help set that up for you. Now, the next thing is what we tend to advocate, which is creating a staging site. So if your host offers staging, this is usually a very easy one-click process to push a clone of your site to staging. And this means that at the end, when you've done all of your updating, you can just push it back to live. And sometimes people say pushing it back to live or pushing it to production is the word that Cloudways uses, for instance. What that then does is just overwrite your existing site with your new copy. So it's a very easy way to take a copy of your site, do some updates without affecting your live site, and then overwrite the live site. Definitely the best way to preserve all of your content. Now, if your host doesn't offer staging, don't worry, you've got a couple of extra options. One of those options might be the fact that you could upgrade to include staging. For example, I know that on SiteGround, the lowest package doesn't include staging, but the middle Grow Big package does include staging, and you might even just do that temporarily. However, some hosts also, they might not have staging, but they do let you have a second installation of WordPress if that's what your package allows. And if that's the case, there's a really cool free plugin called Migrate Guru, which clones your site from, you just install the plugin on both sites and it can push a copy from one site to another via a connection that the plugin creates. So if your host doesn't offer staging, don't worry. And if you can't do any of those things, just get in touch with us. We're here to help. So we have got a couple of other videos showing you how to create a staging site on the most popular hosts, but also how to use Migrate Guru too.